Welcome to For the Record, a podcast from the Delaware State Senate Republican Caucus, hosted by Senator Brian Pettyjohn, Chief of Staff Deanna Killen, and Communications Director Matt Revel. This is For the Record.
Matty, I just appreciate you joining me on this side of town.
Yeah, I really appreciate this side of the aisle.
We just got to move things around every once in a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've done some surveys. They say we need more Matt.
Yes.
That's what they're saying. We got to have more
We
Matt.
hear that all the
I'd like to
time.
see who took that survey. I don't know who that was. So we had a wacky week. I don't know. Wacky, frustrating. I don't know if that's, whatever adjective, negative adjective.
It always seems to be the week before we go on a break of any type. Weird things happen.
Yeah.
I readily admit that I lost my cool.
Yes, you did.
I might call it throwing a tantrum. I just call it, I just is what it is. I got a little bit
Well, let's just go right
fired
into
up.
it.
And
So, we got a new nickname for you right now, though.
I'm sure.
Cosmo Kramer.
I heard
Because you
that.
bust out of the room or
just-
bust into the room, just bam, there you are.
I remind folks, I waited until the public comment was done. I just waited in the dark.
Well, let's tell everybody what it is you got upset about. We'll go right into that one bill that was heard in Health Committee this week.
Yeah.
SB 249, relating to substance use and harm reduction. This is sponsored by Senator Pinckney and some other Democrats. Basically, it decriminalizes drug paraphernalia. And one of the things that stuck out to me is that includes cookers, which I think that's a step too far, in my opinion. It was reported out of committee, one favorable, four on its merits. So we'll be seeing that on the floor. And I know that you've had a lot of very,
Sure.
people that work within law enforcement who have reached out to you with major concerns about this bill.
Yeah.
And also, I think you want to talk about this in conjunction with HB 135, which is
Sure.
the Homeless Bill of Rights. That was also heard in committee this week. As of now, it has not been voted out.
Yeah.
So you were talking to us about kind of the dangers of these two bills together and what that means for communities.
Sure, and I hope that folks listening here appreciate this, right? And I'm not trying to over-sensationalize this thing. What these two bills, in my opinion, most likely lead to what you see on the streets in other cities, where you have unfettered, unchecked drug activity and folks that are sick on the streets that need the state's assistance, but instead being able to utilize drugs. It's not just, that you decriminalize drug paraphernalia, but you essentially decriminalize drug use. And you do that because of well-intended acts like this that have unintended consequences, which is what you see in other jurisdictions when you adopt these types of policies that meet the addict where they are and then leave them there. I want people to appreciate what this policy does. It leaves them there in hopes that somehow an out-of-control world will then decide to get control of their world, and that's not how it works. And so 135, House Bill 135, which we're familiar with, has been around a little while, unlike 249, which I kind of just learned about. 135 basically says that on state-owned or municipality-owned public access, you got a sidewalk in front of your storefront, that an individual has a right to that storefront unchecked.
Right.
Right? And that's a challenge, especially when you combine it with Senate Bill 249, which says that also drug paraphernalia and the using, those things, that they're no longer criminalized, which is fine if you're saying, but we are going to take you to drug court, and we are going to sentence you to treatment or something like that, or get you treatment. But that's not what we're doing. We're still showing up and saying, well, until you're ready, you stay right here in front of mom and pop's store, or you stay right here in front of someone's home. And as long as you're okay with it, then we're okay with it. And they're not okay with it. Again, these folks are sick individuals, and I don't mean sick in the head. I mean literally sick. I'm talking to people right now who know what I'm talking about. And the thing that infuriated me the most was when I said that you are trapping the addict, you're harming the community, and you're destroying the family, because that's someone's child. That's someone's mom or dad, brother or sister. And when the state does these types of things in an effort to help, doesn't see the harm, if we want to, and I'll end with this, if you really want to help that space, and I do, then you do what I do. You go to the governor. But I need an army of folks listening to go to the governor, to contact the Democrat legislators that are in control of this bill and others, and say, you know, that's $700 million that Delaware is going to get over the next 5 years? Instead of wasting it, and I don't mean waste, that's not a good word. Instead of using it in fragmented areas, why don't we take a robust amount and really focus on what an addict and someone sick on the streets needs? And what do they need? They need acute care. They need detox. Then they need a robust residential inpatient type of treatment, whether it's by choice, that's what you hope, or it's involuntary where you commit one of these vacated facilities the state owns, and you use the drug courts and you save lives. That's what you do.
Right.
So thanks for the rant, but I'm telling you, Delaware, you need to pay attention to this, and you need to look past the emotions that people are going to say when they say, oh, Senator Buckson is callous. He doesn't think that these folks should be treated as humane. Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
I don't think that giving an individual cold a blanket and then walking away from it is humane at all. Yeah. Handing them a quarter to light isn't humane. Handing them a sandwich and then walking away so you can go back to your house, that's not humane. You need to help them, and we have the money to do that if we get serious.
You know, I heard not too long ago, and I was reminded of this. Sometimes the best thing you can do for somebody is to be hard on them.
Yes.
You know, you've got to help them correct their behavior. You've got to help them turn their life around. And a lot of times it's not easy. It's not a little pat on the head. Okay, you got it, sport. You know, let's go ahead and get things straightened out. It's being tough on them. It's that tough love type of thing where, you know, their behavior needs to be corrected.
Yes.
And you can't do that, you know, with them living at home in many cases. You know, it's got to be an inpatient type of treatment program. You know, I was talking to one of my Democrat colleagues the other day. I was sitting across from him from lunch. And they even admitted, yes, you know, these outpatient type programs for the people that have the serious problems won't work.
No.
They will not work.
Well, let's see how they vote on this bill.
And we're spending so much money on these programs that aren't working. We could turn that around and put it to programs that do work.
When you, very good, talk to the families. I have lived experience, not just my own, you know, intimate family, but also the folks and athletes that I used to coach. You're absolutely right. Talk to the folks that haven't monetized this space, that are actually in this space. Talk to the families. Talk to the addicts who've recovered, who explain to you, right, what we're talking about. And listen, I'll end with this. If you're looking for perfect, it's not here in this difficult space. It won't work for all, but it'll work for a heck of a lot more people than we're currently helping. Trapping people on the streets by enabling them to do what it is that they want in an out-of-control world makes no sense to me.
You know, and I'll say this before we move on. There is a lot of money in treatment.
Oh, God.
In
monetized.
You know, giving people that maintenance dose just to keep them still kind of hooked on the drug, but able to function in the world. There's not a whole lot of money, and there's nonprofit programs down in Sussex County that cure people of it. You're never cured of it, but really turn their lives around.
Yep.
They're always asking for money because, you know, the money's not in that. The money's not in that. The money's not in saving people. It's just to keep them strung along.
That's the failed model that I've argued with our state agencies in control of this space. That's a tangible, data-driven aspect that you can find on paper. It's hard to find it when it's what you're saying, which is the real robust type of curing that we really need. So,
and we've given free needles away for how long? How long has that been?
It's been a long time, and we have them in our streets and our ballparks, you know, and the parks. You know, we've got them everywhere.
This doubles down on
danger.
This doesn't just give needles away. Now you're giving paraphernalia away.
Right, exactly. Well, what I'm saying is the free needles has done nothing to help solve this issue.
Because
I think some could argue it's made it worse.
Because of the argument made on the floor. That when it was a one-to-one exchange, you forced the addict to at least interact with the folks you hope would help them, right? Even if they don't accept it. When you go unlimited, you're doing two things. You're decreasing the contact point because now you're giving them 50, 60 needles, even more. And the individuals that are sick are not stupid. They're unhealthy because of the illness, but they're able to think, and so they create a barter system where they're actually trading needles that are clean and these things, monetizing it again to enable their space. But the worst thing we got, again, is that what you said earlier, which is these programs that trap, where we celebrate the fact that overdose deaths are down, but what we're failing to see is that the overdose is up. The use of drug use is up, right? Yeah, we're saving them, but we're not. We're keeping them alive. We're not saving them. We're just keeping them alive.
Right.
And the families know that.
And that's the headline we see, overdose deaths are down. Well, yeah, it's because we're using Narcan on everyone. It's not because less people are using.
Right.
We're not curing the problem, like you said.
It's a big deal. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, and because sidewalks are now considered public spaces in this homeless Bill of Rights, if it passes, what would that mean for someone like Georgetown? The people that live in the homes in Georgetown, they're responsible for the sidewalks in front of their home. Could someone set up shop or set up a tent right on there and live?
A sidewalk is still a public space, even though by town ordinance in most towns.
I don't agree with this. You know that.
Well,
We've
I
talked
know,
about it.
but in most towns, the maintenance of the sidewalk is the homeowner's responsibility. That's that sidewalk's in front of, but it's still a public space. So they could set up a tent there. I mean, they could park their cars right in front of people's houses in our neighborhoods and sleep there, and there's nothing really you can do about it.
Right, and this bill also removes sovereign immunity, so local municipalities could be sued, which is very dangerous.
Yeah.
And I want to clear something, because, again, it's challenged. Oh, you're callous. You don't appreciate. That is not what we're saying. If there are examples of individuals who, through a physical illness, not drug use or something, that got behind in medical bills or missed paychecks or got behind and lost housing, shame on the state, who has a $7 billion budget and millions that come in from the federal government, for us not being able to connect to those examples and get them the housing they need to temporarily provide their shelter.
Right.
That's separate from what we're talking about.
Right.
The folks that are finding shelter in front of a storefront on a street are the ones that we're talking about, the ones that it's nice to say you helped by handing them something, but we're talking about robust treatment. Instead of outsourcing to places like Maryland and other places, or even worse. I heard the chair of the bill, when she heard what I said about involuntary, she said, you want this to be a pipeline to prisons. And I said, here's the thing I'll tell you right now. Shame on you for saying that. Here's what you want. This is what I didn't get to say it, but this is what I will say. She wants to listen, right? Your methodology is this. You leave them on the street. You decriminalize the things that we could use to get them into treatment until they catch a charge serious enough that it's a felony.
Right.
And now they've stained their record. Now they're in jail for 3, 4, 5 years, and you've done nothing to help them.
Right.
But because I wanted to use this mechanism to force treatment, you call me a pipeliner. That's, you know what? You're wrong.
Right. They frame it as it's compassionate, but it's not.
Nope. No. You're wrong.
Not at all.
I'm fired up. I got a nice red tea.
I can tell.
And I'm curious to see what happens with the homeless Bill of Rights, because I was looking at the co-sponsorship list, and a lot of the Democrats that sit on the Housing Committee are co-sponsors of the bill. So by the end of the meeting, everyone had pretty much left. I think there were 3 members left, so they didn't do a vote. So I guess we'll see if they get enough signatures to get that out. We'll be following it for sure.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Executive Order 19. Meyer gave a little press conference on this yesterday. I'll throw this to you, Matt, because I know you listened in on that press conference.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, so Executive Order 19. So what it does is create what do they call it? Just election security task force, something like that. So a group of individuals who will be, in the governor's words, not verbatim, but in his words, essentially protecting elections here in Delaware, the sanctity of elections, restoring the voters' trust in our election process.
So where have we gone wrong? What happened in the last election, the election of 2024?
Well, so he said, and again, not verbatim, but this is what
paraphrasing. Yeah.
He said this wasn't coming about because of any particular law or executive order that has been signed or passed or anything, but this is because of some of the, in his view, rhetoric that individuals have stated that elections are going to be federalized. To your answer, the wrong candidate in their minds. Presidential election.
Right.
The wrong party is in charge in D.C. currently. in their mind. But essentially, that's what this is supposed to do. Notably, so normally when the legislature creates task forces to study an issue, you have a list of however many people. But then the pro tem in the Senate and the speaker and the Speaker of the House gets to choose two individuals, one from the majority, one from the minority, to serve. This does not specify the minority.
It just says 2 members.
Just says 2 members. So, of course,
We'll see what happens.
It could be.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they could.
And I mean, I've been on task forces before that. The governor did. I was on Governor Carney's autonomous vehicle something task force way back when. It was 2 members from the Senate, 2 members from the House, and so it does happen. We'll see what the membership.
Yeah, worth keeping an eye on. But the rhetoric at the press conference was a lot different than the rhetoric that was used in the executive order. It's because I know we had some interview requests, and we had to wait until the executive order came out before we could really confirm that we could do any interviews. Because I'm like, I mean, the executive order might be innocent, but the rhetoric that was used down there was kind of
interviewed and asked my thoughts, and I said, well, explain to me what you're asking me. And he said, well, the executive order. I said, well, the executive order is centered around free, fair, safe elections. We all want that. Sounds good.
Yeah, nobody's
I
gonna
said,
disagree
but if
with
you
that.
ask me about the press conference, that's wildly different because that was typical of this administration. What they want to do is sensationalize national issues, act as if they're located here in Delaware, when Republicans like you and I, we have taken hard looks at what we're doing here in Delaware and feel confident that we have control of our elections here in Delaware. But you bring in this national narrative, sensationalize it, and I think it's disingenuous. It's unfair to the system we have. And again, it's another way of stirring up Delawareans based on national issues, something that our current governor seems to be pretty good at.
Yes. I mean, he's on a national show pretty much every week.
It doesn't help Delaware.
Right.
Because Delaware begins to go, wait a minute, what? Huh? And, we need to know about challenges with our elections, which is why an executive order that would look at that, we would support. We're all for scrutinizing to make sure. Heck, I sponsored some legislation talking about making sure that you have voter ID. But when you bring in what you're saying, I said this to the TV, it sounds to me like it's a cure looking for a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And but I mean, that's what the pretty much the tenor of the press conference is, at least the governor's portion was. We have this tyrant, and that's the word he used. We have a tyrannical executive currently in place, and he wants to prevent 2026 from being rigged. The governor.
I mean,
that's what this is about.
Did he say how the executive branch of the federal government might try to do that?
No.
Okay.
There were no details.
But
given.
we got a cure if we figure something out.
There was a lot.
It's all
of
performative.
There was a lot of fear mongering, a lot of conspiracy theorizing. So it was interesting, and it's worth noting that at least 24 hours prior to them giving this press conference, one of our states very close to us, Virginia, had just narrowly approved a Democratic-drawn, extremely gerrymandered electoral map, redistricting map that guarantees
for their congressional.
That pretty much guarantees a 10-to-1 Democrat to Republican ratio after the 2026
which was
elections.
less than 1% difference in the vote, which does not indicate a 10-to-1 split in the state.
Right, but I guess on that note, I think we do have an update. You said,
I saw a report that one of the Virginia courts
I saw that too.
has put a stay on that. They say that it was the constitutional process for this was not done properly for that referendum to be proposed there in Virginia. So. And I'm sure that the administration over there is going to appeal that. But for right now, that's on hold.
Again, speaking of Delaware, I'm trying to focus on Delaware. How does Virginia relate to Delaware? And that's what's fascinating. We do the redistricting. We've had you can explain how it works and tell us about it, but we should pay attention to how we do it, because folks may be surprised to learn in the not too distant future we should expect to have 2 congressional seats.
Right.
And it is going to be fascinating to see how the majority party comes up with that line.
It will.
Because it's going to be about as crooked as you can get. And I don't mean thievery. I just mean they're going to do this and this and this. And that's interesting.
I don't think a lot of people realize, like for Delaware, the majority party is who draws the maps. I sat in on some of the meetings, but let's be honest, I didn't have any input. One thing I found
6 years from now, what's going to happen?
Yeah, 6 years from now, we'll be doing it again. The last time we did it was 2021. It was based off the 2020 census information. But one thing I find very interesting that I don't think a lot of people know, I looked at these numbers a couple years ago that I found interesting. And when the majority party does the districts, each district has so many. I think an average district might be about 47,000 Senate district here in the state.
A little over 50 now.
Yeah. Okay, now. But at this time, we're working off these numbers from then. So the court will allow for a 10% deviation over or above. So what happens is, what I noticed, is all the districts up in Newcastle County, they were all underpopulated. So you've got it's about 44,000 is the average district up there.
So what they do, they take the state population at the time of the census, divided by 21, that's your target number.
Right, that's your Senate district. And then they divide by 41 to get the number for your House. But what I find interesting is, by underpopulating upstate, and I have these numbers available, maybe we can post them in with us, it allows for more districts upstate. Had the districts been a little larger and more evenly distributed, and the deviation was a little bit more even, everything would have went south. What I also found interesting is we had information at the time of what districts were getting smaller and what districts were growing. Senator Hocker's district was identified as being one of the fastest growing districts. It's a beach area. Senator Hocker's district was over 4.35 as opposed to under. So he went into with about 49,000, over 49,000 people in his district. So by the time everything was implemented, and as of now, he's way over way over constituents compared to these districts upstate,
especially some of the ones in the cities where they haven't been growing as
that
much.
Are probably losing population. But so while this is, I wouldn't say it's cheating because it's allowed. What they're doing is legal, but is it right? It's not right for the fact that you can create districts to make it so you stay in the majority. And that to me has always been, I found, very unfair. The majority is the one who creates the maps to keep them in the majority.
Gerrymandering. Right.
And what's funny is Matt and I had just became chief at the time. Matt was my communications guy. We were able to draw our own map. They gave us the opportunity. So we sat down, we drew a map. And come to find out, it was almost identical to the map that the League of Women Voters, it was this nonpartisan group.
Wait, our map?
Our map
was the same as...
Almost exactly the same. And did they endorse our map?
Yeah. They actually, in public comment.
Yeah.
They said, well, the
map
Republican version is actually
because
really good.
Because
of its fairness.
Just looking at
exactly.
Unemotionally.
Just taking everything out of it. But again, it drew a lot of Democrat candidates into each other's district, so incumbents would have lost. District 6, Senate District 6, which was Republican, is now Democrat because a very large portion of that district, which was the high Republican voting area, was removed out of that. So now that's a Democrat district.
What people need to understand in real simple terms, if I have 47,000, folks, registered voters in my Senate seat, right? What you're talking about is in that percentage, you could have an extremely high number of Democrats, an extremely high number of Republicans. You could have something in the middle. And in fairness, you could have independents. That's what we're talking about here. And it matters, right? If logic would tell you, folks, listen, if you're in a district where you have an exceptionally high number of registered Democrats, or especially Democrats, you're most likely, looking at a Democrat elected official. And maybe that's rightfully so. But when it's deliberately drawn that way, that's the problem.
Right. The districts up in Wilmington should have been drawn bigger. They should have been more populated, and that would have put everything down further. So while like I said, it's not illegal. Nothing they did is illegal. But would you say it's fair? No, I wouldn't say
representation.
It's fair. Exactly. And if you averaged it out, which I averaged, the total numbers divided by the districts, Republicans on average have about 2,000 more constituents in their district than Democrats do.
But that was just at the snapshot of the census.
Yeah.
And since then, especially the districts down here,
it's completely different now.
Yes.
Yeah. Completely different now.
Let me tell you something. I've got neighborhoods that weren't there 2-3 years ago.
I know.
Yeah, so I found that interesting. And one thing I do just want to put, on record is that
For the record.
Yeah, for the record, is I have complete faith in our election systems here in Delaware, and I want to ensure people of that, because I hate when I hear people say, why vote? Because it doesn't matter. That's not true. It does matter. People need to vote.
In Delaware.
We have a great elections commissioner who I have a lot of faith in. I've worked with him. I trust him. Are there little things that happen here and there? Absolutely, but that's everywhere. You're not going to be able to
You can't have
catch
perfection.
everything.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
But have faith in our elections here in Delaware. They are secure.
Yeah. And look, here in Delaware, we've had several elections that have been decided by razor-thin margins. We've had primaries. The last cycle up in Milford, that was decided by, 12 votes?
Yeah, that
Something
was
like that.
amazing.
Close.
We've actually had a tie in Kent County for, which one of the row offices was that?
So that was Deeds.
Deeds, yeah, Recorder of Deeds. So a tie for a county-wide race.
McKenna and Gunn.
Yeah.
Wasn't there one recently?
No,
No,
that
I
was
think
it.
Yeah,
it was
well, there was.
overturned
Yes, there
after
was.
the fact.
No, there was the unique one that occurred.
Bonini, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Benini one. Yeah.
That one happened where, well, that was a little sketch.
Yeah.
I know.
In fairness to Colin, it was, you're winning, and then I guess the
And
next
that's
day
when
you're
he
not.
ran.
Yeah.
That's when he ran for. Which one was it? Was it
That was Will's.
Will's?
That's
Yeah, Register of
Yes.
Will's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the
But,
Yeah.
they did vet it, and you know what? I mean, it was properly vetted. It didn't look good, but when you looked at it and studied it and
Well, and that
went
has
through, it was legit.
that's prompted them to change some of the processes in
Yes.
releasing the data and the numbers
Yes.
on election night
Yes.
now too, which is it's slowing down the process, but then you don't get these false sense of a win
That's what
when
happened,
not all
yeah.
of the the non-machine ballots have been
Because those are
returned in.
countywide, so
Yeah.
those are big vote totals.
Yes.
Yeah, big
Compared
votes.
to a Senate or
Exactly.
rep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's really going to be worth keeping an eye on, because not only, excuse me, not
What was that?
I don't know what that was, a late bloomer, I guess. Not only, but will we likely be getting? Well, we will be getting a new U.S. congressional seat,
Yeah,
just due to population shifts, particularly in the Millsboro, Long Neck,
it's gonna
those
happen.
coastal areas.
All
There's-
the coastal area. Yeah.
There's going to have to be a Senate district drawn from Newcastle, likely.
Yeah,
down
either
to Sussex, and probably even another rep district.
Well, there will probably be another rep district, probably another half Senate district, like there used to be with the 18th, where it was half Kent, half Sussex.
Okay.
There's going to have to be something that gets shifted down. Whether that gets so, if we have another full Senate district in Sussex, that means we're probably going to have two House districts.
Yep.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. But I know there's demographic shifts in Delaware. Sussex area has gotten more populated. Then you've got the Middletown area, Middletown, Odessa, Townsend area that has gone through a significant amount of growth as well.
Yeah, and this, like I said, the city of Wilmington, if it's like it was last time during the census, a lot of those districts are getting smaller.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you right now that the last time I got elected, there are basically 3 developments that within 5 miles of my home who basically weren't there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, same.
Where they have got they're
Georgetown,
filling them. They're not just building houses waiting for them to come. It's amazing. And that's just where I am. Frederick, I could name other places. Boom.
Yeah.
So
we're seeing
how do you think they'll draw this line for the new congressional seat? Will they draw it?
I think they're going to draw it east and west,
East
but
and
it
west
just
or
depends
north
on
and
where that's going to be. Smyrna south, a little bit north. They're going to do everything they can to get as much of Newcastle County in it. I mean, there were times that people were saying, "Oh, they're going to draw it right down Route 1," or go down Route 1, 113. An east side and a west side, just to make sure there's enough Newcastle County in both of them to.
Right, but I still feel like the
to get-
western side would benefit us.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll
we'll
see what
see.
the numbers come back with when the next census comes up in 4 years.
So, senators, what do
Yeah.
you feel about a nonpartisan commission drawing lines? Would you like that better,
Yes.
or do you think it also has its drawbacks?
Everything's going to have some drawbacks. It's how you're going to manage that drawback and manage the risk. When you have partisan committees that do it, you run into some risks. When you have a nonpartisan committee do it, you still have people choosing who that nonpartisan committee is, and what are the agendas there. So, we'll see what happens with that. But there's advantages and disadvantages to both.
And there's been some pretty unique ideas over the years I've seen. I think Rep. Ramon, when he was in, had a bill that basically the majority party gets the maps, they draw them, they give them to the minority party. The minority party can go in and make a change, give it back. The majority party can't change what we did, but they can make another change.
Yeah.
So it really
goes through
is
like 3 or 4 different rounds of back
it's
and forth.
It's a true collaboration and
Yeah.
a true give and take.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Or
think
you can just have AI do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
Tell AI
that's
to
where
do
we're
it.
probably headed.
yeah.
Well, and what was it? It was Dave's Maps, and I remember that.
Yes.
Dave's
yeah,
That is-
redistricting.
Yep.
That was a website that was out there for the last
It was.
last redistricting, and it did a really good job of analyzing the census data and drawing some pretty good lines out there.
Yeah.
Again, just by programming, just by saying, okay, I'm just going to take. I don't care where people are now. I don't care where the elected officials are now. I'm just going to redraw the map in the most balanced and fair, keeping communities of common interest together, balancing out, with everything else that has to happen. And, it was a pretty good map. But, yeah.
And I think it's fair to say when you have a statewide election, whatever the percentages are on the majority of those elections, I feel like your district should match those percentages. That's how you know you've done your job correctly in your redistricting. That's my opinion. So let's say we have 60-40 for, like a statewide office, a 60-40. I feel like the Senate and the House should be similar to that in the makeup of Republicans
I got you.
and
The
Democrats
okay.
in the districts.
The
It should be similar.
challenge in the hand that's going to be forced is the reality that the unregistered independent voter right now is exploding in Delaware.
Yes.
By choice or just by how we did it originally.
I think both.
And
both.
so they're not being calculated. And so it's an archaic sort of system, and when they're not calculated in the mix because their vote is as equally powerful as anyone else's, and they show up to the polls. So we've got to learn. We've got to figure that one out. I was at the county. We do the same thing. We get to do our districts. We have as you said, we appoint somebody. We took the independent, the countywide office holder, put one in that was independent to kind of recognize that the independent party didn't have a say. But it would just be making better sense if we just took out the emotion, the politics, and did what redesigns are supposed to do.
Right.
Represent the people in a balanced way.
Yeah.
I guarantee one thing. If you did that, you'd find elected officials that more receptive to working together, figuring it out, not caving on morals or, your convictions, but at the same time recognizing that, we got to figure this out. It's what our founding fathers did.
Just being more collaborative here in this building.
Exactly right. We've lost that.
Yeah,
We have.
Big time lost that. Folks don't
Definitely
have a
have.
clue, but you guys have really seen it. I've seen it from afar, but
I've seen
you've
it.
lived it for a little while now. Think about when you first came in here and
I know.
the willingness to where we are today. So
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Moving on. HB 400. Blake, can you check? I don't think the House has voted on that yet, but that is in the House today. It's on the House agenda. The fee package that we discussed last week
Yeah, by the time folks watch this, it'll have.
passed, I assume.
Wow.
What is the vote on that? Is it a simple
3/5.
majority?
Yeah, it'll be a
It's a
3/5.
3/5.
Yeah.
So I assume they have the votes then to pass that.
So they would
It
need, 4 in the
is-
House to flip, I think.
Yeah, so it hasn't.
Okay,
they
it hasn't
haven't
passed
heard it
yet.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're on break right now, so or caucusing. So that will more than likely by the end of today, or definitely by the time people hear this podcast, it'll probably be passed.
And that was the fee increase bill that we spoke about last week.
Yes, had to do with the
Yes.
LLCs and all of that. And I do want to mention there's this one particular Facebook page. It's called the Delaware Project. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. They kind of have a very weird obsession with you, which you should take that as a compliment, by the way. Yeah.
I do my very best.
Yes.
And so my point is,
When someone
I don't watch it.
Yes, when you bother someone that much, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Anyway,
is what it is.
This particular person who runs it, I guess, watched our podcast last week. So thank you, Greg. Keep watching. But he made the comment because I had mentioned that this will affect people like chicken farmers because they do. And he made the comment that the chicken farmer is a prop for this. And like, no, sir, it's not.
Farmers are a prop.
I used to work at the conservation district. For those that don't know, years before I came here, the majority of farmers, maybe not the majority, but a lot of farmers in Delaware, they use this. And this fee isn't a one-time fee increase. This is something they have to pay every year, correct?
Yes.
You have to pay this every
Yes.
year. So it's not like it's, a one-time fee increase. No. Oh, it's $100. They have to pay this every year on top of rising electricity bills for their poultry farms and things. So it's not a prop. I'm just tired of some of these left-leaning groups who are so out of touch with the average Delawarean.
Yeah.
And
but you got to realize too, there's a lot of farmers that have land that have their land in LLCs for legal protection wise.
Yep.
So they might have, Redden Farm LLC and then Cokesbury Farm LLC that are, for liability reasons,
Yes.
They're in different LLCs. Margins are razor thin for farmers
Absolutely.
right now.
And
I mean, input costs are killing them right now. Feed, fuel, fertilizer, all those things, labor, are killing them, and equipment costs, and then interest on top of that.
Yep.
They're really killing them, and commodity prices are not keeping pace with it.
Right. And some farms could have literally 4 or 5 LLCs, like you stated. So they're not a prop. It is an actual concern, and I just wish he would just,
it's another piece of disrespect for our farmers.
It is. It's just, and it's just this out of touch mindset that just blows my mind. But anyway, that's that. And another thing that happened this week.
And another thing.
SB 65, Senator Hocker's bill to remove
Reggie
Delaware
bill.
from RGGI. That got a lot of attention this week. I'm sure I know you guys have a lot to say about it because you were on the Energy Committee, so you saw this. So I'll hand it over to you to talk about how unfair this committee meeting was.
So, and unfortunately I had to step out of the committee because there were many overlapping committee meetings on Wednesday. So when we first get the committee schedule at the beginning of a General Assembly, we have time blocks. This committee is supposed to be this time. This committee is supposed to be time. And we make committee assignments based on a lot of that. Well, this week, banking, business, insurance, and technology, which had a big bill that there was a lot of interest in, was running from 11 to 1. However, the Senate Environment, Energy, and Transportation was set from noon to 2.
Right.
And the Senate Legislative Oversight and Sunset Committee was from 1 to 2 as well. And I'm on all 3 of those committees.
Well, I know you sat in on most of it, right?
Sat on most of the
environment. So you could probably talk a little
the
bit about what happened in that committee.
Yes.
the Hansen.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I'm going to get beat up a little. There are most times when I like Senator Stephanie Hansen because she is smart. But there are times, like the other day, where she really bothers me because there's an assumption that this is my house and you do as I say.
Yep.
It's almost a level of arrogance. And that's my perception of it. And that's what I felt yesterday in committee. This was Senator Hocker's bill. It was his time to speak on his behalf and for him to have his asperse and us to ask the questions. And because Senator Hansen controls the committee and demanded compliance, when Hocker got finished with him and his guest, and we're supposed to ask questions, instead we divert to a whole new agenda, which is
Her people coming in, giving presentations.
Giving a full-on presentations, and then being sort of left unchecked. And it's like, I asked 3 very short questions because it was a long one and I wanted to ask some more, but we needed others to speak and come back. And I was somewhat told that's all you get. And I'm like, well, that's not how it's supposed to work. This is Hocker's bill. We should have been able to spend as much time, if not more, than you did with your presenters. Your presenters dominated the hearing, had the significant amount of time. You had the majority.
We got the receipts for that too.
Yeah. We had majority party with their questions, asking their questions, and then I get shut down because I want to ask more than 3, 2 of which were rather quick and to the point. I don't agree with that, and I let them know that,
So obviously this bill was not signed out of committee, which we kind of knew ahead of time that it would not be. And one thing I do want to say, because I try not to call people out on the podcast by name, but I am going to do so today for the fact that Senator Hocker used Dave Stevenson, who has been involved in energy policy for a very, very long time. He's been associated with, as basically as his expert witness. He gave a lot of information. But then we had a gentleman from the Sierra Club named Dustin who comes out, and he's kind of like our energy expert here in Delaware and kind of drives a lot of our policy.
Oh.
Yeah, and he came on public comment, basically called him out and said he's not credible and he's full of misinformation. And basically he's not an expert witness. So I think my question is, I want to start hearing what makes all these energy people, what makes them experts in their field? What kind of college degree do you have in this? I'm not an energy expert. And I'll admit that. I know enough to be dangerous. But if you're going to call somebody else out and say that they don't know what they're talking about, then I need to see receipts on what makes you qualified.
Yes.
Yeah. Walking with your grandfather in the Appalachian Trails when you were a kid, is that what makes you qualified?
Well,
because that's all I see in the bio.
Agree. We should not be attacking each other's because Dave Stevenson clearly is well versed. And if you're going to be critical, I don't think you should. But if that's the evidence that you're well read in something, so that doesn't make you an expert. No, it doesn't. But it makes you well read, and so you can speak on it from a level of expertise. But you don't present yourself as all knowing, and everything stops and starts with me and my knowledge. And that's what I feel I get when we enter this space of green energy. I feel as if your thoughts, look, you have a Supreme Court. There's no argument. They're very brilliant minds that are there. You could argue some are more than others. Doesn't matter. They're often split, right? A lot of times it's their political ideology entering in, right or wrong, whatever. They're split. So it doesn't make one side or the other wrong. Right? Like when before it was a conservative court, when it wasn't, I still agreed with the conservatives and thought they got it right. They were free to speak. In the world we're in here with this court that we were in yesterday, no. Your opinion, your decision has already been made because I own this court, and you're wrong.
And moreover, look, and it should be the chair when you have a witness or a public commenter that starts attacking somebody else, that should be, you know what, call to order. That's something we don't do. Yeah. If you want to comment about the bill, that's fine. When you start attacking people, that's where the line has to be drawn.
I'll jump real quick into it. What was the intent of Reggie? In the conversations, it was to determine how it impacts a ratepayer's bill. Because in essence, with all the complicated nature, that's really what we're here for. The people of Delaware who are paying an exaggerated bill. And is there something effectively that we could do now? And Reggie was one example where we are taking millions from an industry, right? And because it's not showing up on a line item, which was their argument yesterday, then it's not impacting Delaware ratepayers. And our argument was, and the ones presenting, which what I said was, but it's illogical to think that Reggie hasn't caused the energy providers, the ones that are generating the energy that are basically related to this higher cost. They paid, what was it, $70 million to Delaware's Reggie fund just last year.
Yeah, I think it was $60 million last year.
Yeah.
69, 70 million, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And hundreds of millions since its inception.
Yeah, right.
Hundreds of millions. Yeah. How do you not, in common sense terms, think that they're not clawing that back in the market that's being generated, right? And that's what you were saying, I think,
And that's when I tried to, come up with some type of, what people would normally see, and I think I said the price of a ham at Hocker supermarket.
Right.
If he's got to pay something more, he's not absorbing that cost. It's being passed to his customers somehow.
It is such
it's baked
a simple concept.
And
I don't
they're refusing
understand.
to accept it because that then gives them ownership because of what I said after that, which is, if you go back to what a ratepayer, how do we get into this mess? You may disagree, Madam Chair and others, but it is not logical to think that the policies and perceptions and regulations and, yes, mandates centered around green energy starting as far back as, Obama in 2012-13 when we went into this green initiative, whatever date that was, that it did send clear messages to some of these longstanding traditional energy providers and generators that don't invest in making your plant more efficient so that you could manage yourself in this world, because we don't want you. So they choose to go off site. They choose to go out of the grid and go to somewhere else because in the world of the green energy supporters, of which I'm one, but I said you can't realistically have it if you don't have reliable energy, they thought that you could backfill it with farm fields and farm fields of solar and oceans of wind. And if we do that, it'll backfill all the reliable. It didn't happen. And that's why we have a scarcity problem, and that's why we have such exaggerated bills, and they don't accept that.
No, and Secretary Patterson even said, you asked him about it in JFC, and he said several times, Reggie is nothing more than the cost of doing business. It's like, yes, exactly.
Yes.
It's the cost of doing business. Those costs are passed on to the consumer.
Yeah.
That is just a basic concept. I think they think if they keep saying it enough that it's going to become true. But maybe it comes from them not owning businesses and not knowing how it works.
Exactly.
But like you said, they don't absorb that. Of course, it's being passed on to the ratepayer.
They framed it around the current funds being used in Reggie are doing some good things. And they said that we, with this attempt to do away with Reggie, want to stop that. And that is nothing could be further from the truth. We have I don't know what they said. There's an argument whether it's 100 million, whether it's 30 million, whatever it is, on hand right now that we have the ability to maintain these certain programs, whether it's low income energy providing, whether it's working with folks to try and make their homes more weatherized.
But that's being subsidized by the ratepayer.
Right.
And people need to understand that. The ratepayers are subsidizing that. The low-income program, I can get on board with that. I do think we should help people that are less fortunate. I'm okay with that. But I'm sorry, I don't think that ratepayers should be subsidizing audits for someone to come out and tell you how poor your home is doing energy-wise. We shouldn't be subsidizing, and that is exactly what's happening. Yeah. But, yeah, it's crazy to me.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, and one other thing I wanted to ask you, because you and I have had this conversation before.
Oh, boy.
That
I'm not knocking anything over. You're fine.
I know. I have my drink here. I don't want it to spill. But prior to, Senator Hansen runs this thing called an energy stakeholder meeting. And I've watched some of these. And I find it really odd that she is chair of this committee, and a lot of her, green energy advocates, and anyone can join. Don't get me wrong. We could join too if we wanted to. But they basically go over every bill that is going to be heard in environmental committee before it's heard, and they take a position on it. And to me, I kind of feel like it's kind of substitutes the committee process, because the decision's already been made
it does.
Before they even come into the committee meeting.
Look, it is a extra governmental group of people that are deciding positions on, and has the chair of the energy committee that are taking positions on bills that have to deal with energy. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, we ran it through this energy stakeholder group. Who are they? I mean, there were bills that I put in that she ran through the energy stakeholder group. Did I get an invitation to speak about the bill? No.
Yeah.
So it's an echo chamber of folks. I think it's wrong that we have these discussions. They're not noticed to the public. They're not on the state website. You are making policy decisions in this group. It is not being sanctioned. It's not happening through the legislative website, the legislative process. I don't even know if it's I know there's documents on it, but they're kept on a Google Drive somewhere. I've seen a link to that before. Is all of that kosher with what we're supposed to be doing as a public body? And I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
I think it's questionable for sure.
I do as well.
I can tell you, full disclosure, I have participated in them on occasion.
I've listened in a few times.
I've wanted to voice my concerns about something, and this is where in that situation, I can defend Senator Hansen. She does allow that conversation. She invites that conversation there, which is why I was so disappointed in yesterday's proceeding, because that did a disservice to something I had found valuable on the energy stakeholders group, which you're able to speak your mind. Stevenson's been on it before.
Well, I mean, I was told one time that they were discussing a piece of my legislation. I went in the chat, Senator Hansen, I'm here. Somebody else even said Senator Pettyjohn's on there, but I never got called on.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, it was very disappointing.
Yeah, and again, I did state that anyone's allowed to join and talk, but I think it's problematic that we have these bills coming before a committee, an independent committee, and decisions are being made on do we support or do we oppose. Because I know Senator Hocker's SB 65 was in this committee last week, and they already made a decision they were going to oppose it before it even came to the committee. And that to me it's not kosher.
Understood.
Now, we do often advertise when these are going to be on our caucus pages, so
But
We
if there's
do- we
but
do
if-
that
I was
Yeah.
going to say to your
Yeah.
point, right? It
But if
should
there's
probably-
public policy that's being discussed there, it should be on the legislative website.
100% agree.
It should be something that goes through the systems that we have here. So there's recordings available,
Yep.
all of those things, so that it's a transparent and public process.
Yep.
It makes me wonder, though, and how serious is the other side in actually lowering energy costs? And
Blake
making
is
it
shaking
more-
his head no.
and making it more making it more affordable for, say, everybody. But
Well, they're making it more affordable for the lower income because they're putting all these extra
Well, that's
fees and everything on everybody else.
Hey, you want to talk about redistribution of wealth?
That
Yeah.
100%.
Actually,
That's exactly what it is.
But if they were serious, I mean, they would be looking at removing us from RGGI, scaling back the renewable portfolio
RPS,
standard, RPS, or doing away with it entirely. And then with the Nuclear Feasibility Task Force actually being serious and developing a plan that can be presented before the General Assembly prior to June 30th this year,
Yeah, I don't.
and moving forward with whatever regulations have to be done, whatever pieces of legislation has to be done. And, of course, as we know, PGM puts it out, nuclear energy is the best, most reliable baseload form
is.
of energy.
It
And
is.
Senator Richardson has expressed concerns to you and I about the
And-
the pace of this nuclear task force
Right,
and how slow it's moving.
And to me, I just don't think they're serious about it.
No, I
Right.
honestly
That-
don't think they.
That
they
may have
want it.
been why, in my opinion, she was so eager to jump on board, because she knew she was going to chair it and she could slow roll it.
Which we had talked about with Dan Gaffney. That doesn't make sense to me. That we have Republicans that put forth a task force, something that they're passionate about and they want to study, but then once it passes, they don't get to run the committee. It's not their vision at all. You put two green energy advocates, which I don't know why they wouldn't support it, but for some reason I don't know that they don't support it. I just get the impression that they don't. I could be wrong.
You
but-
know, and they're going to speak to, well, Republicans wanted to do away with RGGI. The compromise and what I had offered and we had talked about was, all right, so if we don't do away with RGGI, how about this? How about if we freeze temporarily the lanes that we're allocating it for and instead take the $70 million or $69 million that's coming in, we take the 16 or 32 or whatever it is in the compliance tax that Delmarva is paying, we take that, we combine that, and we decide to do one of two things. We can either give it back to the ratepayers, or we can take that money and go all in on kind of looking for reliable energy in the state of
Right,
Delaware,
help,
something
yeah.
that you're talking about down there towards the plant.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some expenses that are going to have to happen to get some of the larger natural gas lines
Yes.
down to where the generation is going to be. Use that to reinvest in this
Yes.
cleaner
Right.
energy production if we're not going to do it. And look, I just pulled up the grid status for PJM, and all day long, nuclear has been anywhere between 26.8 and 27 gigawatts of power being produced. Current load is 95. 95 gigawatts. I mean, 30% is being done by nuclear right now, and it's steady. I mean, that line is just solid steady
Right.
all day long.
And that's what the one gentleman on the task force, Willis, I think, is that his name, Willis?
Martin
Willis. That's what he suggested, was using some of this money that's sitting in the SCU or the Green Energy Fund. Let's move some of this money or use some of this money to get nuclear up and running. Because that's kind of one of the things that we hear from them.
And it is
Well,
a
it's going
form
to
of
cost too
green
much.
energy.
So yeah,
It is.
So the
Exactly.
framing is Republicans just want to do away these low income loans or low income, assistance and all that, and that's not the case.
Right.
It's not the case.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
If anything, a lower energy bill would help them more than
It helps.
having to go through a bureaucratic government.
Yep.
But we got to,
agency.
listen, man. I understand the middle class has now become a real challenge class
Yes.
when it comes to all the energy costs and everything else. So
Because they don't get the help.
They don't. That's
They're
exactly
not
what I'm
eligible
talking
for it.
about. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. This just went out for co-sponsorship today. Representative Holoski, Senator Buckson, you and Senator Richardson are both Senate primes. It is called the Tipped Worker Relief Act of 2026. So this creates a deduction of up to $15,000 on qualified tips and converts it to a refundable credit for low-income residents, resident earners. So we'll see what happens with that. I know Senator Richardson also they're in draft form right now. He is also going to be introducing one to do this for overtime. No tax on overtime. So got 2 good bills coming out. We'll see what happens with those.
In conjunction with HR 1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this will be state level.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a good thing for people.
Yeah, it would. I mean, I know I talked to some tip workers, and they got that little line item on their W-2s, and they plugged that in, and it saved them a good amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Plus, I'm happy to join on it. I mean, it makes total sense to me. It falls in line with what we've been trying to do. The administration, the current administration, has said they want to do. It's a popular item. It's not a Republican. It's not a Democrat thing.
No, it's pro-worker.
Hard work.
Pro-worker.
That's what we are. I mean, again, we get hung up on this stuff. We get labeled things we're not.
We want to help the people that are out there doing
100%.
it, grinding day in and day out.
Boom.
Yep. That's all I've got. Unless you all have something.
Can't think of anything. I know next week, Bond Bill will be meeting to take their considerations.
Yeah.
Yes, and we recorded a podcast with Brian DiSabatino a couple weeks ago, so that will be airing next week. That was that was a very good podcast.
Yeah.
Encourage everyone to listen to that. He's got a lot of good insight on Delaware.
Yeah, and Governor DiSabatino is really smart.
He would make a great governor.
He's a good guy. He's just got a wealth of
so
knowledge.
Smart. Oh,
He's
so smart.
He's really good when it comes to business and looking at the big picture. And I mean, just some of the things he's done to help his employees.
Yes.
We get this narrative all the time in this building. Oh, the business owners, there's these fat cats that don't care about their employees. No, I mean, his employees are his family. And I think you're really going to see that come through in the podcast.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
And go Flyers. They're on a roll.
Unlike your Phillies.
Unlike the Phillies. But you know what? That's the beauty of it now. I love my Phillies. Got a long season, but right now, it's all about those
So
Flyers.
we've got the
Sixers
Phillies.
aren't doing bad either, but I don't like their chances without Embiid.
Yeah.
But the Flyers are rocking it.
Okay.
Well,
draft tonight.
We've got Phillies. We've got the Yankees over there, and they're in first place in the AL East.
That's right.
We are how many games behind right now? Only 3.5 games behind.
That's it. Wow.
With the Orioles.
Well, you're not going to catch up. So.
We'll see about that.
NFL draft tonight.
I hear someone.
Cleveland
I
Browns
hear
got the
Sussex.
6th and 24th.
Browns?
pick.
What?
Yeah.
Browns? What?
There's a reason for that, right?
Well, that's
There's
true,
a reason for that.
But
It's not a flex.
It's never a good thing when you're the first pick or third.
there's always
there is.
I
We're
do
gonna
have
turn
good
it
news
around.
for you, though,
What's that?
Eric. You're not in last place, thanks to the Mets.
The Mets are. We're in a race to last with them, though. I think
Well, I mean,
both
they
got like 8-game losing streaks.
No, they're on the Mets are now on a 1-game winning streak. So I guess they've lost 15 in a row.
After meeting with Mayor Mamdani. It's
Okay.
worth mentioning.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're kidding?
Did you
No,
want to talk?
I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
Mamdani met with the Mets.
Nets.
They're saying that's
And then they
why.
won.
and danced around with the mascots, and immediately following that, they lost 15 straight.
Oh, they need to keep the
Chinois, see? Huh?
Phillies are on an 8-game losing
Told you
streak.
socialism
That is
doesn't
so.
work.
That is so fitting. That is so fitting.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I hear there's
Interesting.
a Millsboro kid that's going to be drafted in the NFL tonight. Did you hear that?
Well, he's projected second round. I
Yeah.
cannot remember his name.
I can't remember his name either. I heard it on the radio.
Millsboro kid meaning what
Well,
school?
he lived in Millsboro, but he didn't go to Sussex Central. He went to
No.
some private school who
Up in-
obviously
around
recruited him.
Baltimore,
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
but he is a local kid, so I think that's pretty cool.
That is cool. Yep.
Yeah.
And we've had some MLB kids locally that
Delano DeShields, right?
well, yeah, I mean even more
You're
recently
going way
you
back
have
now then.
yeah.
Delano DeShields. They had Jamie
Geloff.
Foreman, Indian
Geloff.
Rock.
Geloff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Zach
Right,
Geloff.
right now, you better.
And then Flu Hardy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Flurry, right?
Flu Hardy.
He was
Yeah, he's really good.
He's really good.
Yep. Yeah, he was in the World Series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mason.
Did a great job.
Yep.
So
All right.
anyway, there we'll go. I guess we'll see if AJ Brown is traded
One would hope.
tonight or later to the Patriots. Apparently,
I mean, it's great talent.
Yeah.
Great talent. But you can see that personalities start to rub off and start to change things. And what do I know? I'm a typical fan. So do I know? No. But it just seems like there is a disconnect there.
Yeah.
And, I like the culture of the locker room. Sometimes that requires a change.
That's true.
But if he's back, then I'm his biggest fan because
There
I'm
you
an
go.
Eagle fan.
you
Whoever
go.
it is, let's go Birds.
Not so much.
Have some. Have some.
All right. Well, then on that note, like I said, next week, General Assembly won't be here. But
Well, let
Bond
me
bill
just
will
add
be.
something real quick. This is important related to the draft. For all you Cowboy fans out there, I'll remind
right
you.
here, right here.
I'll remind you of the same thing that our kicker from a few years ago said. The last time the Cowboys were in the Super Bowl, these draft picks weren't born.
Very true. Very true.
Some of their parents
I
weren't
don't even
born.
want to hear anything from you, Matt.
The Browns have been in the playoffs more than the Cowboys. Well, not more, but they have at least won a game.
How
the
did you
Steelers.
become a Browns fan?
Oh Lord, this will be another podcast episode. Long story short, so my dad is one of 12 siblings, large family. They were all Baltimore Colts fans, but the first football game that my dad ever watched was the '64 championship between the Colts and the Browns.
Okay.
Browns won the last time they won a championship.
Well.
And he's followed them ever since. So he saw success. I was born into whatever this crap that we got right now.
I mean, I always hear the Browns going to the Super Bowl, but it's about something else. But I just did a Google search just to check. Yeah, the Browns
Probably
have
gonna
never
cut
won
this
the Super
episode
Bowl.
off. What
Yeah.
are you saying?
You have the editor here. He's
Yeah,
gonna.
the Browns have never won a Super Bowl. Interesting.
Well, our time's coming
Let's see.
eventually.
Are they the only ones in the original era?
Five, yeah.
man.
Dallas 5 times.
Lions.
From the original era that
Lions.
have not Lions have not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Lions,
Dallas 5 times. Eagles
Hey.
2.
How about Ravens?
Yeah, but baby, they're
Two?
still doing well lately. They've been owning that thing. The last time they imploded was a couple of years ago, and then they went and won it, and this time they imploded again, so they're going to win it this year.
Ravens twice.
Okay, Ravens.
They'll win it
twice.
next year, rather.
Yeah. But see, I started off as a Colts fan, too, until they moved.
To where?
I was a Colts fan until
That's
they
how
moved.
come I was an Eagles fan.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I didn't know
and
you were
there's-
old
There's
enough
no
to be
way.
that.
There was no way after
Yeah.
being a real diehard Colts fan, I could go to
Well,
Philly.
I used to read the paper with my
Or
father
Ball-
in the morning, and
or
the
Redskins.
stats and everything. That's the only way you kept up with teams, right? Back
Yeah,
then, you'd read
yeah.
the newspaper, and
Uh-huh.
so I'd read the Colts and follow them and follow the stat lines and everything else. They had little stat lines there, and then they moved,
Yeah.
and so I became an Eagles fan.
And I still remember. I
never
mean,
going
you're,
back.
you're a little bit older than me, but
Little bit.
I still remember sitting in our den, watching that TV and seeing those Mayflower trucks pull out.
Amen. Yeah,
And
Yeah.
a member of my family never watched a NFL game, a full NFL game after that.
man.
Yeah.
Before my time.
God bless you. Hey, before we go,
All right,
need
Columbo
help.
now.
Does anybody know who this guy is? Because he calls me all the time.
Spam risk.
Yeah, do you know who Spam Risk is? Mr. Risk, leave me alone.
Answer it, and let's take a call live on the air.
Oh, you don't want to? Hello?
Put it up to the mic.
You're too late. Bye-bye. That took too long.
It did. It did.
I went on a cruise, and I think that's what's happening now.
Okay.
So I went on a cruise,
That's your
and all of a
Android
sudden I'm
phone. That's your
getting
Android phone.
cruises are calling me going, hey, we got a special. So it's a good thing it wasn't anything else. That'd have been awful.
We could
Matt,
have
you
done
gotta
it.
cut that.
Yeah, would have got cut. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess
Yeah.
see you in a couple weeks.
See you in
Alrighty.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
For the Record is recorded and produced by the Delaware State Senate Republican Caucus. You can find us with the DE Senate GOP handle on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Threads. Discover more about our caucus on our website, senategop.delaware.gov.